certainly not.
And why PJ Patterson didn't give private developers real estate license to do all of these development taking place in Kingston? Everybody wants to leave a mark. Mm-hmm. So you think a man serve 3 terms wouldn't just want to walk away without certain marks? Why they have the opportunity? Mm-mm. The question them is there and nobody no want to ask them. Mm-hmm. The illicit enrichment coming through all of these things, the disbursement of land and transaction to private developer. So he might use certain type of clauses, but why him never realize he might drag even his own children them into the corruption.
Hello, hey, that's a serious issue, you know. That's a serious issue, you know. Time is the master, you know. Oh.
The karma. People hear me talking, you know, and take it for joke, you know. In the 70s, the parish court of Portland tell Stan Appleby the money that is there for the children can mine up until the 10th generation and not touch the money that is there in the Barclays Bank. Mm-hmm. So you see, once the administration see these things.
How that one? Oh, okay, go ahead.
Once the administration see these things, him look down upon the people them and start to bear foolishness. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Bear foolishness. Mm-hmm. Anybody where have sense and know about Parcel Garden will know that the government and the Appleby family was in court about Parcel Garden. Okay. Parcel Garden is not government land, right? Yeah, Port Antonio is oversight over 380 acres of Port Antonio estate, which is a 544 acre, is oversight by trustees, what they call it Pitchfield Trust. Me and you know what is a trust. So when me talk some things, people are make it look like we are trying to paint a picture upon the Prime Minister. Nobody not painting any picture. No. They asked Mrs. Zela Makala to resign because of the decision that the court gave. Mm-hmm. And so comes input Chief Justice Brian Syke on probation. Jamaica people not listening.
Attempted to.
No, him put him on probation is when even the court come out and him and say it is unconstitutional. That's when him give him the full job.
You know what? I just made a point. Hold your thought 1 second. Hold your thought 1 second. You realize the amount of attempts the man make in with matters that touches directly to the Constitution of Jamaica. And remember, you know, the man is acting in a capacity where he have Attorney General to advise him, you know. Mm-hmm. So the man he's acting as a dictator.
So several reasons. Yeah, several reasons why Andrew should not be Prime Minister. Number one, placing citizens' lives at risk. The first duty of a Prime Minister is to protect its citizens.
Protect.
The Prime Minister failure is in regards run the government for failing to provide a safe and secure environment for citizens. Seen in the increasing level of crime, especially to direct exposure of citizens to danger. Mm-hmm. While failure to control crime could be a ground of disqualification to hold office, deliberately exposing citizens to danger is. How is the Prime Minister exposed? How has the Prime Minister exposed the citizens to danger in 2020? The pandemic, when the country is seeing the first surge of the numbers of infections and death. The Prime Minister called an election. In addition, marches and crowded events contrary to his promise not to do so. He started in Water Square, Falmouth, and later after making a public announcement that crowd and events were banned. That after the election, the Prime Minister had large events, Savlamar, Westmoreland, Portmore, St. Catherine. In June 2021, his government granted permits for the mass event, Moko Fest, to be held in violation of the DRMA, and later in the face of the third wave of the pandemic, which was seen in And the second one now is admitting being under the control of special interests. Citizens have a right to expect when government makes decision. It does not it does so in the best interest of all, are a majority of citizens. The Prime Minister by conceded that in reopening the country as he did, to observe law. The Prime Minister as head of governmental chief is a chief proponent of law. The executive, the cabinet, which the Prime Minister heads, draft proposed bills which are then passed by the legislature Parliament. One of the most key principles of law in democracy is no one is above the law. In furtherance of this, it is expected that who makes the law, of whom the Prime Minister is chief, will set an example in obeying the law to whatsoever. So he must set the law and him not follow the law.
Albeit.
Lying or misleading the Parliament people. On various occasions, Prime Minister Holness lied to or misled Parliament and the people. It had been recalled that the Petrojam scandal, the Prime Minister gave 3 separate figures concerning the exit package of the former HR management. Well, I said, the Prime Minister know or ought to have known that he was tendering false information. Most recently, in his many acts of mismanagement of the pandemic, the Prime Minister falsely claimed that the response to the Pike government had increased the number of hospital beds. Well, and then it's by the government. So him lie about that. But as the Gleaner reported, the Ministry of Health had announced the same number of beds quoted by the Prime Minister from as far back as March. As pointed out in February 2019, the act of lying to or misleading Parliament is a ground for removal from office in well-run democracy. The 7th one now, breach of constitution. In 2013, while serving as a leader of the opposition, well, everybody know that one now, the pre-signed letters of resignation to the senators proceed to use them to remove 2 members, Arthur Williams and Christopher Tufton, whom he did not support in his contest with Ali. Who did not support him?
That's why.
Okay.
You know, man.
Miss one. Use of tax haven. The Prime Minister major investment in Jamaica are held in a company which are registered in St. Lucia, where he benefits from tax law which are quite different from more accommodating than the country he runs. So while the Prime Minister passes law to demand that citizens pay tax, which tax are used to provide service and national security, garbage collection, paying salary to public sector workers, he has taken the decision to avoid paying tax here.
Generate a business outside of Jamaica.
So failure to pay tax. The country is so failure to pay property tax. The country indebted to the investigated work of Zara, that's a girl from 18 Degrees Dance, for uncovering that the fact that 2016 Prime Minister ANDREW HOLNESS, then leader of the opposition, has several properties which property tax was outstanding. How could an aspirant for the job of Prime Minister be floating the country tax law and refusing to make a reasonable contribution to the source from which basic service are provided? Is that acceptable?
Yeah, man.
People, I ain't for tell labor them something, and them tell you a lie, I tell nothing, go some of them try come and defend it.
So bad man him, man. Like I tell Parliament bad man him. There's so many issues, man. There's so many issues that render the man incapable. He's not fit and proper to be Prime Minister. He should not.
A lot of people are trying to cover up fame. Because enough of them when you hear a talk, them know exactly what I'm do. Because enough of them are benefit from the evil what I'm do.
Lots of them.
He's not fit.
In 2019, you know, Mr. Ingram, sorry for cut you. In 2019, ANDREW HOLNESS make 4 different trips to China between September and December. December, he take a 14-member delegation to China. Books the 31st of December, COVID breakout.
Wow.
When me say something, Mr. Ingram, my think them godly and them straight.
And that COVID, 14 to which that 14-member delegation, you know, for a round trip to China is about $3 million plus accommodation, blah blah blah. So it's about $5 million per person. They say, you know.
Mr. Ingram, The COVID,
That near
the
100
virus.
million expenditure that.
The virus was to ship here in Jamaica, right? To a specific person. It never create to spread across the globe. Not
The
everybody can know things from the spirit world.
Okay.
The Lord Almighty turn it around.